Hey guys, and welcome back to another week of the Porsche Cup Car here on iRacing. My name is Matt Emery with Coach Dave Academy. We're here for week 4 for Virginia Raceway in America. So firstly, let's get into the hot lap. Okay guys, so let's get into the hot lap guide then for Virginia. Actually a really nice track to drive. Really on the limit with the grass. No room for error at all. And you see that, I mean, there's loads of grass all around. You've got loads of runoff as well. But anyway, heading down to turn 1. You spot your braking zone. You're looking at about the 300, I think that's 300 meter or whatever the 3 stands for. That's where you want to start braking. Just as you head into turn 1, you see quite a heavy initial braking input towards turn 1, just holding the brake pressure and then trailing off as you normally would. You want to take quite a tight line. You notice on the track there's this black strip that you can use as a reference that you kind of want to stay within, just on the entry anyway. You can see the sort of the racing line just here that you want to follow. Following the curb round as well, not using the curb, maybe just slightly touching the white line. And then on the power, we're getting on the power quite early. Also, we're holding it quite close to the inside as well, just so when the car does run out to the left-hand side, you've got a bit more room for error as well. But yeah, you see I'm getting on the throttle just about here, halfway around the corner. Slowly onto the throttle, not to just to make sure the rears don't step out on us. And then using all of the track on the exit, and then cut it back to the middle of the track for the next couple of corners. Now, something that's a bit of a theme of this track is that a lot of the corners are combined. So you notice this corner, for example, coming up to, you notice there's one corner here, but really you're setting up the next corner after it. So staying in the middle of the track, not using the inside curb, just so we get a nice rounded run for the next corner, and then using all of the track on the entry. And then just make sure we're rounding off this corner as much as we can. So you notice we're turning in quite early, quite well, a long way before the end of the curb. And that's just to make sure we hit the apex, and then using all of the track on the exit as well. Now these painted green AstroTurf sections of the track, they're fine to use. You won't get off track for that, so the limit really is the grass. That's the same for most of the track as well. But yeah, as I said, this one's a bit of a combined corner. So you're setting up the next one after the initial turn in on the throttle as early as we can. So you notice even before we hit the apex, we're back on the throttle about 50%, and then increase it to 100 as we get to the exit. Bit of a snap of oversteer, and then into the next chicane. Now turning in quite early for this one. you notice I'm already sort of in the middle of the track before we turn in. You really want to hook your left-hand tyres around this curb. You can use the grass slightly as well, which you see that I do. You see I'm slightly over the grass here. And what it does is just hooks the car around. It turns quite nicely. Second gear, and then over the next curb as well. Again, using a bit of the grass. Also short shifting up to third gear, you'll notice. That's just to make sure we don't get too much wheel spin or the back end doesn't step out on us on the exit. Again, you're setting up this first one, just making sure you're setting up the second section of the corner, second bit of the chicane, for a good exit. And onto another combined corner. In fact, I mean, this corner starts here and ends, in right round here, around the back end of the circuit. Because you're setting up this corner, being really patient on the exit here, and then you're already doing your turning. You're already on full throttle for the next section here. Really important. If I go in cockpit cam, it's quite a deceiving corner because it looks like you've got a lot more track than you do, and the track comes at you really quickly here. So just make sure you do your practice for this one. Being really patient with the throttle, just holding off, and then finally get back on full throttle about here. So what you don't want to run out too wide here, as you're just going to get sucked off onto the grass. So you just need to make sure you're just aiming. Your eyes need to be on this apex here. You're aiming for that apex all the way from the exit of this corner. So you notice here, still not on full throttle, only about 50%. Just looking at this apex here, and then getting it turning nice and early. Short shift up to fourth just to help the rears as well. And then fly over these curves, and then through the flat out section here. Just making sure we're taking the shortest line of resistance through these corners. Completely flat through here, using all of the curbs. Really satisfying part of the track. And through this section, just making sure you're staying to the left-hand side just to open up this next one, just to make sure it's completely flat. Using a slight bit of the grass there as well, and then turning in nice and early, completely flat around here, using this curb on the right-hand side. This section of the track is slightly blind. So you notice, just as we come over the crest here, in line with this tyre barrier, we're actually coming off the throttle and onto the brakes. So I'll just show you what I mean from the cockpit cam. So yeah, completely blind this section. And you pop over the hill, you're off the throttle and straight onto the brake pedal. Now you can take this corner in fifth or fourth gear. If you're struggling to get the initial rotation, then obviously downshift down into fourth gear. That will help with the rotation on the apex. You notice I did have to do that slightly on this lap, just as the car wasn't quite biting. You can use a bit more of the apex curb as well than I did there. Another few centimeters, another foot maybe onto the curb. And then using all of the exit as well. You can get away with running a bit of the grass, just don't run too much as you'll pick up an off track. But I get a really satisfying corner to get right. Just opening up as much as we can, chucking it in, and then on the throttle as early as we can. And again with this corner, this hairpin coming up, it's two corners but they feel like one. Because you're setting up the first one, all focuses on the exit on the long straight. So we're starting our braking just about in line with this number 4 on the left hand side, and just trail braking all the way in. We're about 50%, just holding it all the way nicely in. So clip this first apex, and then you notice how we're still not even pointing towards this part of the track yet. We're still completely in line with the barrier. So what you're doing is just opening up this corner as much as you can, all the way to the left, and at the last minute you just want to flick it right, just to make sure we get the best run we can out of the hairpin. Still on the brake pedal slightly, you'll notice, just holding on to that brake, just to get the car turned in. And then being really careful on the exit with the throttle. I found in practice really easy to light up the rear tyres here and just get completely sideways and onto the grass. So as you notice that I did here, just being really careful with the throttle. So not quite 100, and then as soon as we straighten up the car, we're 100%. And another thing to notice, again, as I mentioned earlier, you can use all of this runoff on the exit of the curb. But I'll play it through for you once more just so you see what I mean from outside the car. So braking at about the number 4 on the left, 400 meters, I'm not sure. Hitting the first apex and then just completely aiming for this curb on the outside just to open up the next corner. At the last minute, flicking it right, and then on the power, nice and gently, onto the back straight. No, obviously really important to get a good run onto this back straight, as due to the length of it. If you're defending in the race or you're attacking, obviously make sure you fully focus on the exit of the corner. It is quite a hard track to overtake. You'll notice how narrow it is, and also how sort of windy. It's hard to get a good run while following here. So just obviously make sure you're setting up your exits for this long straight. It's probably the best opportunity you're going to get. Yeah, heading back down the hill. Probably for the hardest braking zone on the track, just as the speed you're carrying, and also the braking zone is a bit of undulation that you have to deal with, so the car will go light on you slightly. You're looking to brake just around these two markers here, so make sure you're not braking too late, as you will pay the price for that, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So yeah, braking just around the number 3 on the right hand side. I actually did brake slightly too late here. You'll notice I've actually missed the apex slightly. You really want to follow this curb round a bit better than I did on this lap. It's such a hard corner to get right every lap. But you notice just holding the brake pressure, just being really smooth with the brake, clipping this left-hand curb as well. You can actually, again, because I broke slightly late, I was straight lining this section slightly. You can open it up slightly more than I did. But yeah, really hard braking zone to get right. I suggest doing a lot of practice for this one. Yeah, second gear at the apex, just overshot it slightly, but didn't lose too much time. And then back full throttle for the end of the lap here. We plunged back down the hill again. So just going into third gear here, you notice I'm just slightly off the throttle. You'll notice as you come around this corner, the rear end likes to stick out on you. So just something to bear in mind and look out for. And then full throttle again, using all of the track up to fourth gear. And then back down again, hopping it over this curb on the left-hand side. Again, with this one, I'd say to brake earlier than you expect. It's really easy, as it's a blind corner, to just go in, full throttle and then start braking when you actually see the apex. So best to start coming onto the brake just before you get to this curb. Just nice and easy into the final couple of corners. And what you're doing here is really setting up this last stretch of the line. That's obviously really important to get a good run. So yeah, braking earlier than you'd expect, hopping over this curb, down to third gear, over this curb on the inside here as well. And then rather than running out to the curb there, you want to take a nice short line, just so the next corner's full throttle, and you see what I mean. Full throttle here, cutting it nice and short, and then it's nicely out to the left-hand side curb. I'll play it through for you once more, just in one motion for you. So braking just before the curb on the left, into third gear, using all of the curb on the apex here, and then cutting the short line for the final turn, using all of the track on the left-hand side, and then the shortest run possible to the line in qualifying. In the race, just want to take your normal racing line. But that was the hot lap guide for Virginia Raceway. So that was the hot lap guide then for the Virginia Raceway circuit. I hope that was useful for you guys. And you picked up some nice tips and tricks. Obviously head over to coachdaveacademy.com for the latest data packs. Obviously mentioned in a few of the previous videos, coaching is now available. I'm one of the coaches as well, so if you want a session with me, then just drop us a message on our website. Obviously check out the Discord channel as well. Any queries you guys have got, someone will get back to you as soon as they can. And other than that, I will see you next week for week 5. Take care, guys.